What's good, YouTube? Thought I'd come back again, man. All right, so with regards to the Sheduer Sanders situation, man, I've been listening to a couple of different shows. You had First Take with Stephen A. Smith, and there was a couple of different segments. One had Dan Orlovsky, and the other had Marcus Spears, and then later he had another segment with Mina Kimes and Ryan Clark. And then you had on the facility, it was interesting too as well. And what I'm kind of noticing is a lot of the players a little reluctant to go there, except for the certain guys that like Shady. He don't give a damn, because Shady was like, that's just his personality. Like anyway, Ryan Clark, you could tell, No, I like Ryan Clark, man. I am. I'm not as hard on these guys as a lot of people are, because I understand, the idea of, protecting the bag and getting your money and working for people. Like, that's just reality. I'm not one of these people that's out here expecting, people to go gung-ho, Gil Scott-Heron every damn time they gotta, they're on the microphone. You can't go Fred Hampton all the time. You know what I mean? So, like, I get it, but I see why RC is kind of being set up to really, if Stephen A. Smith ever falters or whatever, he's like the next in line, because he has the wisdom to kind of know, like, how to play the game and what to say and how to move and all that kind of stuff, and I get it. But with all that don't mean I have to like his take, and I think his take is full of shit, really. They're trying to make the argument that the Giants somehow really made a legitimate football decision with taking Dort, and he says that Dart, and he says that he believes the Giants won the draft. Like, come on, bro, stop it, man. The Giants did a hell of a job at getting Abdul Carter, without a doubt. Even though he's coming off an injury, I don't know if he'd be ready to play day one. I don't know. I haven't looked into that. But like, come on, man. With all that, stop it. I can see a better argument, really, for Tennessee or a couple other teams, man. If Dart doesn't play, they didn't win. How they win, and we don't think this guy is good. And then Mina Kimes, who I like as an analyst, because she's just, what she gonna bring. She gonna bring the numbers. She gonna bring that type of thing. She really does her research, and she's one of the better analysts, in my opinion, who didn't play. Out of those analysts who never played, I think she's one of the best, because it's rare that you can detect bias and stuff like that, and I appreciate that. You know what I mean? So, but even with her, she's trying to find a way not to let it be what it is when it comes to Sheduer, and just act like it could somehow be well, she said that she actually ranked Sheduer above Dart, which pretty much everybody did. But then she says that something about because of the situation the Giants are in, and they have Russell Wilson and all these guys, that Dart would be better in a situation where he doesn't have to play right away. And to me, no, none of that make no damn sense. No, at the end of the day, you don't pick players because of reasons like that. You pick guys. If you're a good organization that's about winning, you pick the best player. The hell with all that other stuff. All that other stuff sounds just weak to me. You had the facility, which was interesting. Pretty much everybody was on one accord. Acho tried to be in the middle, but then you had Chase Daniels, who, he's so full of crap, man. This dude that I don't know how he still has a job on there. Maybe it's just because he's controversial, meaning he's going to say stuff that is contrary to the others, and that's it. Maybe they like that. I get that, I guess. But, he's trying to make an argument that on film, Sheduer Sanders wasn't impressive. On film. Like, come on, man. Which one of these guys was so damn impressive on film? Cam Ward, they're picking based off of, like, more so potential. Come on, you still, even with all of that, you can't sell me Jackson Dart, bruh. That's the problem. You can't sell him. I don't care how you try to twist it and maneuver it and finesse it. You can't sell that. But at the end of the day, look, these teams don't have to draft anybody they don't want to draft, but just call it what it is, man. There was not enough discussion to me, especially on First Take, about the other stuff when it comes to Deion Sanders and Sheduer. Stephen A. Smith was trying to get into it, but a lot of NFL Live people were trying to avoid it, and I think that's more career-based decisions, And then real quick, man, to some of the people that are commenting in different places on these different things. I heard this one person say, because people get tired of, and I don't really care if people do, but people get tired of, black people commenting on things saying that racism plays a part in it. Listen, if you're a white person and you can't understand that, it's okay. Like, there is enough black person that expects you to understand it. Like, you literally don't have the DNA to understand it unless you're like a really one of those empathetic types of people. You're just an empath who really like studies the history of the others. There's few who are like that, but most people aren't. Most people are really self-interest serving types of people, and most of you, I assume that's how you are. So when I try to explain these types of things, I'm really not expecting, you to accept my reasoning or agree with it or anything. I really don't. I really couldn't care less. What I'm saying is based off of what I observe, based off what I've experienced, based off of how I read the room and read the situation. It's just that simple. For you, it's different. Okay, cool. But we got to get a little bit more nuance in the way we see race and the way when people call it a race card and stuff like that. There isn't enough nuance in it. There's problems with people understanding what a racist is, what racism is, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but I will say this. One person said, "Oh well, Sheduer fell out of the first round, and they have a problem with black people saying that race plays a part in it. And their proof is, well, Cam Ward went first and he was black, so okay, that's supposedly proof that there's no race playing a part in it." And for me, that's an example of simplistic mindset and not enough nuance in the situation. Okay, this is the case. When it comes to race and racism and stuff like that, and this is on both sides, it's rare that you have people that completely broad stroke hate a whole other group of people based on just the color of their skin and just don't mess with none of them. Those are the rarities. Those were the people they're the true racists. They are individuals like David Hume, like Voltaire, and those European Enlightenment writers who are the fathers of true racism, who literally have a belief system that states that race is not a social construct, but rather it is a fixed biological reality that places and it also contains a hierarchy amongst races. They were of the belief that David Hume, you can look these guys up, these were European Enlightenment writers who believe that there are different races, okay, and the color of the skin is the main indicator, with the white race being up top, being the most superior, and typically the black race being at the bottom or close to the bottom. Sometimes they'll put the Native American at the bottom, they'll put Chinese somewhere in the middle, which they call Mongolian, Mongoloid. That's real racism. Most people aren't that. Most people just have a mindset that's based on stereotypes and real simple BS. But even with that, they tend to not hate all people of a particular race or a particular sex. I'm give you an example. You can have a black person, or you can say black people in general. I would say in general, won't say like a Donald Trump or an Elon Musk, right? Donald Trump is a white guy, right? But at the same time, they might like Bernie Sanders. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's rare you'll find black people who feel that way about Bernie Sanders or who use his whiteness against him. Why? Or to feel that way about Tim Wise, even though he's a white guy. Why? It's because it's more nuanced than that. It's not just that Trump is white. It's that Trump is a white guy who appears to have certain beliefs and has about certain policies, has a certain amount of nationalism with him that makes him look as if he has some Aryan fascist type of beliefs about him. That's the way he appears. Elon Musk, it appears, has some of that as well. Has some beliefs in eugenics and different things like that. Okay, so a lot of times when people are talking about, if a black person complaining about white people racism, they're talking about a certain type of white person, not saying everybody and all of that. In the same way with white people, for example, like what blows my mind is sometimes I go on this one thread, and I think it's a Caitlin Clark fan or whatever, and I'm stating something, right? And it's really had nothing to do with race. It was just, I think, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark thing. And I made some statement. And then she tries to use a statement from Jason Whitlock to convince me of something. Like, she believes that we're so monolithic that, like, I'm going to accept a Jason Whitlock statement. No, it's not that simple, right? So, obviously, white people, they like a certain type of black person, white, who thinks a certain way, who espouses certain beliefs. Like, they believe they'll like Ben Carson, but they may not like Stokely Carmichael, for example. Or maybe y'all don't know who he is. Who's this? Senator Crockett, right? I forget her first name. You might not like her, but you'll like Ben Carson, right? You get it. Okay, so it's not just as simple as black and white. It's way more nuanced than that when it comes to these things. And what I'm saying is, even in this conversation about Sheduer and Dion, the point I was making is, it's not that Sheduer is black. It's just that he's black and has the gall and the nerve to act and carry himself a certain way, had to have a certain mentality. And it's more so not even so much him, but it's more so his father, Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders is, he's a black man who carries himself in a way that some rich white people don't like. And I promise you, when I'm talking to some of y'all, most black people, when we're complaining about white people, we're not talking about the general rank and file white person. I've said this on the channel before, right? I'm way more nuanced than that. It's not the general rank and file, white guy who is from a poor neighborhood, might be from the damn projects himself, might be on welfare, so on and so forth. I ain't talking about that. We're talking about billionaire people who tend to be able to sway power over government decisions, and who can actually enact things to make to create a situation where laws and society is more advantageous for certain groups of people over others. Okay, so when we talking about that, when we say the man, ain't nobody talking about you, Billy, Bob, Tommy, or whatever. We're talking about dudes like Elon Musk, David Rockefeller, Jacob Rothschild. Talk about those types of people. Donald Trump, right? Who got some of y'all fooled, right? Those are the people talking about. Ain't nobody talking about general rank and file, Billy, Bob, Tom, Thornton people. Stop it. Most of y'all families were struggling in Ireland, being potato farmers and shit like that before you ran to America. Before your grandparents came to America in 1920, right? Y'all were never slave owners or anything like that anyway, because you didn't have the money to do it. Most of y'all are in that situation. So ain't nobody, I don't know why you get offended by that, right? And then if black people are criticizing you or like kind of levying it at you, out of ignorance, then you should make it clear. Hey, like, shit, my family ain't had nothing to do with that, because shit, we from Italy or Ireland and came here in the 1930s. Slavery was going on. Slavery was done by then. Just make it clear, you know. Because you will run into some of my brothers and sisters who don't know any better. They just lump everybody into everything and don't have nuance as well. That is a problem, without a doubt, right? So that's what I'm saying when it comes to that. There's white people who have a problem with black people who carry themselves a certain way. To some of them, especially rich guys in high places, you know. And it could be true they have a problem with certain white people who do that as well. Like that's true. Supposedly it happened with Aaron Rodgers. The 49ers, you know, they took Alex Smith, number one, over Aaron Rodgers, simply because they didn't like his attitude. So, you know, it can happen with a white guy too, you know, but it seems it's more often with black people. Like if black people don't do certain things, like cut their cornrows or braids, for example, or dress a certain way, or don't wear jewelry, and things that have nothing to do with football, or don't speak, you know, with proper diction all the time, pronouncing all their syllables when they speak, you know, as opposed to talking when the way we may speak in a relaxed setting. You know, if you don't come into the office doing all of that, you know, you put yourself in what a less advantageous situation. You see what I mean? But yeah, man, that's all I'm saying on that. I don't know, man. We'll see tonight, man. I got Sheduer going probably to. I would like to see him go to the Steelers because I think that's a competent organization that I think would take care of him. One of the best ran organizations, I think, in the league. If not, maybe the Saints, because I think that's a fan base that would embrace him. You know, what's the other team? Yeah, I think one of those two, man. Oh, the Raiders. Raiders would be a good spot. You know, or the Rams would be a great spot. The Rams would be perfect because that way, you know, you'd be in LA, and you could sit behind, you know, a great quarterback like Matt Stafford and learn, you know, and then play after him. That would be good. So, draft coming on again tonight, man. See y'all after that. Peace out.